Hi, I'm Victoria Rock Stanford with Century 21 M&M and Associates. Some buyers came in to my open house this weekend and they were expressing their frustration with not being able to get an offer accepted and being asked to write offers without contingencies or with short contingency periods. So I wanted to go ahead and address that because I think that is really on the minds of a lot of buyers today throughout California in many different markets. Sellers are looking basically for two things when they look at your offer. They're looking for price and terms. Price and the strength of your financing, if any, go hand in hand. So of course the seller wants to net the highest. They also don't want to get into escrow with a buyer who can't perform. So they'll be looking at, whether you're cash, that would be the number one most preferred, type of offer. Are you financed with a high down payment? Those deals typically go a little bit more smoothly, and if there's any issue with appraisal, they tend to be a little bit less problematic if the buyer has a stronger down payment. So those are typically the things that the seller will look for first. It doesn't mean that you can't obtain a house if you're a great FHA buyer. I just closed one of those 2 months ago, or if you are a VA buyer, which I just closed last month. So it happens, even in markets like, in the San Jose, Silicon Valley area, it is possible. And one of the things I love about, the fact that the market seems to be changing a little bit is that good, solid buyers can get houses now without having to have, the entire sales price in cash. So there are ways, even if you have financing, to make your offer as strong as possible. And that is basically the key, right? So after price, the next thing the seller is looking for are, what are your terms? What's the length of the escrow? How long will it take you to close escrow? Some people need 35 days. Some people can do it in, 20, 21 days with financing. And cash buyers, sometimes they can do 2 weeks. So length of escrow is one. And tight contingencies is another one, because as long as you, the buyer, have a contingency period, you have a period of time in which you can back out and walk away with your deposit. The seller wants you to be committed as early as possible. So as a result of that, a lot of sellers are giving you inspections up front, all of your disclosures up front, and they're even asking you to sign off that you've reviewed them prior to submitting your offer, so everything gets submitted together. In other words, they know that you are fully educated about the property. This doesn't mean that you're not allowed to do your own inspection. In fact, you're encouraged to do your own inspection. In my opinion, you can get an inspector, a good inspector, out to the property within 3 to 5 days. So I think it's possible to write in a contingency period for physical inspection of 3 to 5 days. Obviously, your agent needs to speak to the listing agent. The seller needs to be open to it. But in the grand scheme of things, every seller really wants a solid, educated buyer who's done their due diligence on the home, not someone who just, signed away without thinking. So most sellers and listing agents will be open to a short physical inspection contingency. That's my belief. You're not going to hear that from every agent, but I think that you can make that work in a lot of cases. And I encourage all of my clients to do their own inspections. It's up to the buyer. So you've got your physical inspection contingency, and then you've got your loan and appraisal contingencies. So appraisal is typically the one that most buyers are worried about, and that is, what if the house doesn't come up to value? If your market is rapidly increasing in value, it may be worth it to bid a little bit over the appraisal value, knowing that in a month or 2 months or even in 90 days, the market is going to catch up with that price, right? So in some cases, it works. If you decide to go into an offer with no appraisal contingency, what that means is that if the property does not appraise for the amount that you offered, you will be responsible for bringing the difference in cash. And that oftentimes, as I said, that does work. Here's what it takes if you decide you're going to go no appraisal contingency with your offer. You need to go over the comps with your agent with a fine-tooth comb. Get a worst case scenario value from your agent. This is absolutely the lowest that the property will appraise for. This is the lowest it could appraise for based on this information. The information being recent sales in the area. once you've determined your worst case value, do you have the cash to bring to the table in order to bridge the shortfall? If you've got that, you're okay with that, then you can write an offer, no appraisal contingency. The finance contingency is a little bit different. I have a few lenders that I work with that will actually pre-approve you and do the underwriting, the processing, everything that has to do with you, the buyer, in advance. So basically, your loan approval is really subject to the property. So many lenders, and it really is specific to the lender and to the buyer, your level of comfort and your level of commitment in the process and with the property, etc. A lot of lenders will be able to do it with a very short contingency, or, buyers that decide that they don't need one based on the information that the lender is giving them. So that's really a decision, to be made by the buyer with the information from the lender. But a lot of lenders know that in order to be competitive today, in the marketplace today, you need to be able to come in with at least, a very, very fast loan approval if you're going to go in contingent at all. So with your price, terms, contingency periods, those are the things that put together, your offer and basically determine the strength of your offer. If you have any other questions about that, please reach out to your agent, or you can always call or email me. My number is 408-702-8906. And happy house hunting and good luck. I hope you get your next offer accepted.